Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Today is an exciting day because I don't often do movie reviews. I don't often talk about new releases because for one, I just don't go to the movies that much, but I I rarely have money to go to the movies, but I'm the kind of person who rewatches my favorite TV show until I am till I know every line from every episode sort of person. So I don't often see like new movies, but last night, I got to see Sinners and I am so happy that I did. It's good. I'm giving it a 4.8 out of 5. That's pretty high. Like it's going to stick with me for a while. So, before I get into talking about it, I just want to let you know there's going to be spoilers. I don't really like talking about movies without talking about spoilers because I want to be able to talk freely about what I think and feel, but I will try to keep them to the end. So, yeah. So, for those of you who want to know my just overall thoughts about the film, if you want to know sort of about like what the film is about and stuff, if you're just completely unfamiliar with it, I'll give you a quick rundown, but other than that, yeah. Okay. Anyway, but the film Sinners is a 2025 film. Obviously, it was released this year. It's directed by Ryan Coogler. If you're unfamiliar with his work, you may remember that he did the Black Panther movies. He did some of the Creed movies. He did Judas and the Black Messiah. Like he loves being black. He's won multiple double NAACP like Image Awards. He's been nominated for like Golden Globes, Grammys, all kinds of stuff. So like he's good at what he does. He knows how to tell a story. He knows what kind of stories to tell, and he doesn't exploit black trauma for the screen, in my opinion. He has made films that talk about black trauma or like maybe, you know, reference it or it has something to do with the main plot, but it's not specifically being exploited so that like white people can feel sad that they enslaved black people. You know what I mean? Like it's it doesn't feel like a movie that's not even made for a black audience. Like this his films are made for a black audience. They're made to talk with and to invoke certain feelings without just completely making you sad and wish you hadn't watched it. That's what I'll say. Because, like, and this is a personal thing, I just think a lot of historical retellings or historical fiction type of films, specifically ones centered around black people, are just trauma films and they just exploit black trauma to like what I was saying before, and that bothers me. But I think his work does not do that. I think that he very much wants he wants to tell a story. That is his main goal, and I think he does it very well. Anyway, enough singing praises about Ryan Coogler, okay? Because I've developed a real respect for him as a director and producer. But Sinner stars Michael B. Jordan as twins, which I think is interesting because obviously he's not a twin in real life. So I just think it's interesting when we put twins on screen when like twins exist in real life. So like we could just hire twins, but I think Michael B. Jordan does amazing. I think there were times where I couldn't tell them apart, but also times where you could definitely tell them apart, and so I just thought that was an amazing performance by him. But the plot of the film, or as described by Letterboxd, it's the tagline is Dance with the Devil. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So, without giving away like one of the major like spoilers in the movie, this is a great description of it. It really does center around the twins and sort of them trying to get the band back together so that they can put on for a night this they call it like a juke, but it's like a club pretty much. They're trying to put together a club, and they're, asking people from their past and their hometown and stuff. They're asking people that they know who have special talents, like being a big dude. Hey, can you watch the door? I know that you're good at music. Can you play some songs, sort of thing? So it's very much one of those situations, but there's obviously this underlying sinister feeling about the whole thing. And part of it comes from the spoiler. The other part of it, like, definitely comes from the fact that we know that these twins are trouble. We know that they're pretty much gangsters, okay? They're going to they do gangster things. They have guns. They'll shoot people on sight if you try to mess with them. They make threats. They make enemies very easily. You can tell that these guys are trouble. So yeah, part of the underlying unease throughout the film is definitely that. But the opening scene, I think, especially gives the film an unease because we know something bad is going to happen. So the character Preacher Boy, or Sammy, is in the opening scene. And this, of course, doesn't give anything away because it's literally the first scene. So, I'm not trying to give anything. There's no spoiler here. But Sammy / Preacher Boy, he comes into a church filled with people, and, he's holding this part of a guitar, and he's sweaty, he's got blood all over him, he's got this huge, like, scratch on his face, and it's just very, like, scary as he comes in. And everyone's like, put the guitar down, like, what's going on? Everyone's freaked out. And then it kind of cuts to what will be, the main part of the film following Michael B. Jordan's twins. So just from that, that something bad is going to happen, but you don't really know to what the context of it is. I think it's a great opening scene, but I do think, as someone who went into the movie not knowing anything, because I hadn't seen a trailer, I hadn't seen a poster, I didn't know anything. Plus, I was kind of inebriated, so I was kind of like, what is happening right now? I was very confused. So walking in and having that be the opening scene was very interesting because it already set up that there's going to be something bad that's going to happen. And, it's one of those what happened earlier that day, sort of like what happened the day before. So we know that something bad is going to take place. Something bad is going to take place over the course of the next day. But we don't know how, what, or when. We just know that it will happen. And so that's what I think creates this unease. It makes every comment that seems, off the cuff, that seems really casual. It makes it feel very ominous because as these people are gathering and as we know there's going to be some sort of gathering, we know that Sammy is going to walk away from it traumatized and scarred, both physically and mentally. And so as we go throughout the day, it continues to creep closer and closer to this event. And I was on the edge of my seat, honestly. I was sitting there wondering, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Like, And again, I didn't know anything about the film, so I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that it was going to be scary because there's a few jump scares, and there are so many moments where it feels like there's going to be a jump scare, but there's not. And that freaked me out so much. But I commend them for not putting in very many jump scares. I think that was a good choice. I think some of the leading lines and conversations where there's this undertone of, you know, music and sound that is ripe for a jump scare, and they don't use it as a time to have a jump scare, is just like so great and so important, because it really did scare me even more because I just didn't know if something was going to happen, and then nothing did. And I was both relieved but also scared, because if it doesn't happen then when is it gonna happen, right? Let's talk about how this film has a lot of music. There was a point at which I was like, wait, is this a musical? And not because the main characters were singing and dancing and like doing all this crazy stuff, but like because there are some parts that are very, very music heavy, and the music is very important in this film. It's very important to the story, it's very important to the characters, and to, you know, its cultural significance. And the history of music is also sort of written within this film, and I just think it's a beautiful use of music, to be quite honest. But the music is very important in this film. It adds so many different layers, I feel like, because of the history of music, especially amongst people who have been oppressed, because there comes a point where it's not just about Black history, but it's about the history of music in general. And I think that's a really great element of this film. Of course, another element of this film has to do with sort of the title of Sinners. There's a religious undertone to it, and I think that makes sense because a lot of the music of the time, of course, would be something that is like based in like has religious aspects to it. I think, as a lot of people know and understand, that like historically enslaved peoples would often sing hymns, or I can't think of what they're called right now. What are they called? What are they called? Gosh. But you know what I'm talking about. But people would sing to fill the time, to feel connected to one another, to continue on, to maintain resilience amongst, you know, a group of people. And so I say religion loosely because because again, like historically, religions haven't always been as clear as we like to try to categorize them as we do today. Back then, there were a lot of sort of religious or spiritual practices that were related to people's connection with themselves and with the like greater universe. Either way, music, religious undertones, as well as I think the religious undertone ties into how evil can be rooted in both sort of a secular understanding of it as well as a religious understanding of it. And I think there's multiple evils in this movie. There's one specific one that's like a physical evil that they all try to fight, but there's obviously the evil that the twins sort of bring with them in a weird way. This like evil, there's like this underlying evil that they bring with them when they come back, because like there's a sinister nature, because you know that they aren't good people, that they do bad things, that they hurt people and they use people. So while they are the main characters and while we root for them in many aspects, there's also, of course, this underlying sinister nature behind what they're doing and how they use and abuse people. So there's of course, this like duality amongst the whole movie. The movie like thrives on this duality of the twins and the duality of nature and the duality of society and our cultures, and just how that plays into how we interact with one another and our own cultures and whatnot. So it goes far beyond just the surface level of what the spoilers bring to the table. However, I will get into some things that spoil, like the overarching mystery, I don't know what to call it, like the overarching secret amongst this film. And I really want to talk about that because that's part of what makes this movie imperfect to me, because it's obviously not a perfect film. I don't think that exists out there, right? However, the one of the criticisms I do have is that this movie's almost 2.5 hours. Like, it's a pretty long movie, and there are parts that feel it. Like, you can really feel it in some parts, and there were a few times where I was like, okay, let's get on with it. Like, I wanted the movie to sort of like step up the pace a little bit, but that could be due to our shortening attention spans, or it could be due to like an actual like problem with pacing in some places. But the spoiler is that the evil that is waiting for them is an evil that is brought on by the music played by the character Sammy. It draws in these vampires. They're vampires. Like, they are. That's what they're referred to as in the film. That's what we know them to be. They have the same powers and stereotypes, I guess, of the vampires that we know in history and stuff. So yeah, people start to get bitten, and there's a whole crowd of people who are in this club who have no idea what's going on. They start biting people, and there's a part in the trailer where there's like a group of people who are like slowly coming towards the club. That is them. So yeah, there are vampires in this film, and part of why I can't give this movie a 100% score or a 5 out of 5 or whatever is because they know that they are vampires, and that sort of took me out of the film. That's the thing that took me out. And I know they sort of set it up as the character of Annie sort of has this what may loosely be called as voodoo. She like practices what again would loosely be called voodoo. It's really not, but it's pretty much something in the line of a spiritual ritual. There's like this little pouch around one of the twins' necks that's supposed to help protect him from evil and things like that. So like we have this sort of, a build up, I guess. We have this sort of background for her that sets up that she might know what vampires are, but it seems very weird that her first thought would be vampires in a situation like that. I just feel like there's too much of an immediate understanding of the situation. I think a lot of people would be just more confused. They would continue to be like confused and not give it a name. I just feel like vampires probably weren't that popular back then. So like, would people even know? Cause like, yes, Dracula. Okay, so Dracula came out in 1931. Like the film Dracula came out in 1931. So I don't know. I just feel like vampires wouldn't be the first thing that I would think of, especially because they have like all of their teeth are they're like shark teeth almost instead of just being the two teeth here. So that sort of took me out of the film because I just didn't believe that they would immediately be like, yeah, these are vampires, and everyone would be like, yeah, I know what a vampire is. I understand that. Like, I just feel like there should have been more like, what do, you know, like, what are these things? What are they called? Like, they have this and this and this element to them. Like, they have this characteristic. So I wonder what it is. And then her be like, I think I've heard of this. I think they're called vampires. Sort of thing. Like, I just feel like that would have been a better introduction to them as vampires instead of like, we know they're vampires. Like, it's very clear to us as the audience because we know what vampires are, and that's like very prevalent in our culture. But like back then, I just don't know if it was prevalent enough for her to be like, oh yeah, like I know what vampires are. Like, that's my immediate thought here. So I don't know, it bothered me a little bit. But otherwise, but I'm done with spoilers. Otherwise, I think this movie was so good. Again, 4.8 out of 5 stars. I think it was really good. I think the cinematography, I think the cinematography was amazing. I think that the sound design, the music, the writing, I think it was all there and it all came together in a really good way. And if I didn't know Michael B. Jordan wasn't a twin, I would have thought those were twins because he did a great job. So, but that is all I have to say about this film. You'll definitely have to let me know what you guys think down below if you've seen the film, or even just like initial thoughts of from the trailers and stuff if you haven't seen the film. But I would highly recommend this film if you are not into scary stuff, if you're not into like period type of pieces, if you're not into like historical fiction and stuff. Like, if you're not into those things, this movie's not for you. Like, if you're not into like, yeah, if you're not into stuff that has music in it, if you're not into kind of scary stuff or jump scares or anything like that, this is not for you. Like, my parents, they probably couldn't watch this movie. But if you're okay with that stuff, if that stuff interests you, if that excites you, definitely give it a watch. I think that it's both a fun movie, but also a very serious and thoughtful film, and I can really appreciate that. So, but that is all I have for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.